The sky turned black at noon. Jack Miller stood on the roof of his apartment building in Denver, watching the impossible unfold above him. Massive shapes emerged from nowhere, blotting out the sun like metal mountains floating in the sky. The ships were enormous, each one larger than the entire downtown district, their hulls gleaming with an oily darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. His phone buzzed once, then died. Around him, car alarms wailed as every electronic device within sight flickered and went silent. The power grid collapsed in seconds. What the hell is that? Someone shouted from a lower floor. Jack didn't answer. He already knew. 30 years in the Marines had taught him to recognize a military formation when he saw one. This was an invasion force, and humanity had exactly zero chance of stopping it. The first strike came 3 minutes later. A beam of white light erupted from the largest ship, splitting the sky with a sound like reality itself tearing apart. It struck downtown Denver, and the entire city center simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no fire. The buildings, the streets, the thousands of people, all of it just vanished, replaced by a perfect crater half a mile wide. Jack ran for the stairwell as panic erupted around him. People screamed, pushed, trampled each other in their desperation to escape. But escape to where? He'd seen the formations. There were ships over every major city on the planet. He'd counted at least 30 over Denver alone. By the time he reached his apartment, the news channels were already gone. He caught fragments of emergency broadcasts on his battery-powered radio. London, gone. Tokyo, gone. Moscow, Beijing, New York, Los Angeles, every major city was being systematically erased from existence. Earth's military responded with everything they had. Fighter jets screamed overhead, missiles trailing white contrails toward the alien vessels. Jack watched through his window as dozens of aircraft attacked the nearest ship. The missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible barriers hundreds of feet from the hull. Return fire came in precise, measured bursts. Every jet, every helicopter, every missile battery destroyed within seconds. The alien weapons didn't miss. Not once. 6 hours after the first ship arrived, organized human civilization ceased to exist. Jack gathered what he could. Weapons, food, water, a first aid kit. His military training kicked in automatically, overriding the terror that threatened to paralyze him. Survive first. Process later. He made his way to the parking garage, where chaos reigned. People fought over cars that wouldn't start, their electronics fried by the initial pulse. He found his old truck old enough to have minimal electronics, and it actually turned over. Please, take us with you. A woman with 2 children grabbed his arm. Jack looked at them, then at the dozens of others converging on his truck. He couldn't save everyone. Hell, he probably couldn't even save himself. But maybe anyone who can fit in the back, get in. We're heading for the mountains. Move now or get left behind. He ended up with 7 people crammed into his truck, the woman and her kids. An older man named David, who claimed to be a doctor. A young woman named Emma, who worked as an engineer. And 2 others, whose names he didn't catch in the chaos. They drove through a city that was eating itself alive. Fires burned unchecked. People looted stores, fought in the streets, or simply sat on the curbs in shock. Above it all, the alien ships hung like dark angels, occasionally firing beams of light that erased entire city blocks. Jack knew exactly where to go. During his service, he'd heard rumors of a government bunker facility in the Rockies, built during the Cold War and supposedly abandoned. If it still existed, it might offer shelter. They drove for 3 hours through increasingly empty roads. Behind them, the horizon glowed orange with the fires consuming Denver. Ahead, the mountains rose like silent guardians, indifferent to humanity's destruction. The bunker entrance was right where Jack remembered. hidden behind a false rock face in a remote canyon. The door was sealed, but Emma surprised him by producing a small toolkit from her bag. "I work on secure facilities," she explained, examining the lock. "Worked. Past tense, I guess." It took her 20 minutes to bypass the ancient security system. A door groaned open, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the mountain. "Is it safe?" the woman asked, clutching her children. Jack checked his rifle. "Safer than up here." They descended into darkness, using flashlights to navigate the concrete corridors. The bunker was exactly as the rumors described. A Cold War relic with living quarters, storage rooms, and most importantly, a communications center that might still function. Emma got the emergency generators running within an hour. Lights flickered to life throughout the facility, revealing a space designed to house 50 people for months. Right now, it would have to shelter 7 survivors from the end of the world. David organized a medical station. The woman, who introduced herself as Rita, revealed she was actually a research scientist specializing in electromagnetic systems. The others set up sleeping quarters and inventoried supplies. Jack made his way to the communications center and began cycling through frequencies on the old radio equipment. Static filled most channels, but occasionally he caught fragments of human voices. Other survivors scattered across the planet, desperately trying to make contact. Chicago is gone. They're hunting anyone. Who double quotes down single quotes did go to the cities they're rounding. Up double quotes saw them taking prisoners Nowhere. Rita joined him, listening to the desperate transmissions. "How many do you think made it?" "Not enough," Jack said quietly. They spent the next week establishing contact with other survivor groups. The picture that emerged was bleak. The alien someone had started calling them the Dominion had destroyed every major population center in the first day. After that, they deployed ground forces to hunt down survivors. The ground troops were efficient and merciless. They moved in squads of 5, each soldier standing nearly 8 feet tall, covered in black armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Their weapons fired bolts of superheated plasma that could punch through concrete walls. Survivors who were caught were either killed immediately or taken to massive transport ships for purposes unknown. By the end of the second week, Jack's group had made contact with 43 other survivor cells scattered across North America. The numbers were horrifying. From a pre-invasion population of 300 million on the continent, they estimated fewer than 2 million remained free. Most were in hiding, living in caves, abandoned mines, or facilities like Jack's bunker. "They think we're finished," Emma said one night as they monitored Dominion communications. She'd managed to rig a receiver that could pick up their transmissions, though they couldn't understand the language. "Listen to the pattern. They're not even searching aggressively anymore. This is just cleanup to them." Jack studied the data they'd collected. Emma was right. After the initial devastating assault, Dominion forces had pulled back to occupy key strategic locations. They'd established bases in former cities, converting them into resource extraction facilities. Massive mining operations scarred the landscape. Refineries processed Earth's materials day and night. "We're not people to them," Rita observed, analyzing samples of Dominion technology they'd salvaged from a crashed patrol craft. "We're insects. Pests in a house they just bought." David looked up from his medical journals. "That's good." Everyone turned to stare at him. "Think about it," he continued. "You don't study insects. You don't respect them. You certainly don't expect them to fight back effectively. Their contempt is our advantage." Jack felt something stir in his chest, something he hadn't felt since that first terrible day. "Hope. David's right," he said slowly. "They've already moved on mentally. Earth is conquered territory. They're not expecting resistance because in their experience, there is no resistance after the initial assault. Emma's eyes lit up. We could use that. Over the next month, they began to plan. Small actions first testing the enemy, learning their patterns. Jack coordinated with other survivor cells, organizing reconnaissance missions. They watched Dominion patrols, noting routes, timing, weaknesses. The aliens followed rigid schedules. They patrolled the same paths at the same times. They relied heavily on their technology, particularly their communication networks. Individual soldiers showed little initiative when separated from their units. They're like ants, Rita said after reviewing hours of surveillance footage. Remove them from the collective, and they struggle to adapt. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force and centralized command. Then that's what we target, Jack decided. The first attack was small, almost insignificant. A 4-person team ambushed a Dominion patrol in a narrow canyon in Utah. They used explosives to collapse the walls, crushing 2 soldiers and isolating the other 3 from reinforcements. The isolated aliens seemed confused, hesitant. They didn't pursue when the humans retreated. They waited for orders that came too late. The humans killed all 5 with salvaged weapons and improvised explosives. They lost 1 person in the attack, but they'd proven something crucial. The Dominion could be heard. News of the victory spread through the survivor network like wildfire. Other cells began mounting their own attacks. A bunker in Montana destroyed a supply convoy. A group in the Appalachian Mountains sabotaged a mining facility. Survivors in the Pacific Northwest ambushed a patrol and captured one of the aliens alive. That prisoner changed everything. They brought the wounded soldier to Jack's bunker, and David immediately went to work saving its life. The alien was humanoid, but distinctly other gray skin, 4-fingered hands, eyes that glowed faintly yellow in the dark. It wore biological armor that had fused to its flesh, and it braved atmosphere that was toxic to humans. Why are we keeping it alive? One of the survivors demanded. They killed billions of us. Because we need to understand them, Rita answered, already setting up equipment to study the creature. We're fighting blind. This is our chance to see. The alien regained consciousness after 2 days. It couldn't speak any human language, but Rita managed to interface a salvaged Dominion computer with the alien's armor systems. They got basic information through visual symbols and simple translations. The Dominion Empire had existed for over 1,000 years. They'd conquered 400 worlds. They'd never lost a war. Their military doctrine was built on absolute overwhelming force in the opening assault. They struck so hard and so fast that resistance movements never had time to form. But we did form, Emma said, studying the data, because they hit us so hard that our command structure collapsed immediately. There was no government left to surrender, no authority to order us to give up, just millions of angry, desperate survivors with nothing left to lose. Rita made another discovery while examining the prisoner's armor. Look at this. The armor isn't just protection, it's part of their entire combat system. Navigation, communication, weapon targeting, even life support. Everything runs through a network system. She pulled up a diagram on her laptop. See this? It's a quantum mesh network. Every soldier, every vehicle, every ship, they're all connected in real time. It makes them incredibly coordinated, but it's a single point of failure, Jack finished. Take down the network, and you take down everything. Emma leaned forward, her engineer's mind already working through possibilities. A virus wouldn't work. The quantum encryption is too advanced. But an electromagnetic pulse, properly calibrated, could cascade through the entire network, Rita completed. Feedback loop. One ship goes dark, tries to reconnect, floods the network with error signals, crashes the next ship, and so on. Jack felt his pulse quicken. How close would we need to get? To their command ship? Emma calculated quickly. Inside their defensive perimeter. Maybe a few hundred meters. That's a suicide mission. It's the only mission that matters, David said quietly. If we can disable their fleet, even temporarily, survivors on the ground could overwhelm their forces. The Dominion soldiers can't function independently. We've seen that. Jack looked at each of them. Rita, brilliant and determined. Emma, young but fearless. David, old but steady. And the others who joined them over the weeks, men and women who'd lost everything but refused to quit. All right, he said finally. Then we figure out how to build this weapon, and we figure out how to get it onto that command ship. We get one shot at this. One chance to hit back. Rita gestured to the captured alien. What about him? Jack considered for a long moment. We keep him alive. If we survive this, he's our message to the rest of the Dominion. Proof that humans fought back. Proof that we won. Asterisk building the device took 3 months. Emma and Rita worked 18-hour days, combining salvaged Dominion technology with human engineering. They needed something that could penetrate quantum shielding, interface with the alien network, and generate an electromagnetic pulse powerful enough to cascade through thousands of ships. Simultaneously. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The captured Dominion soldier, who they'd started calling One for lack of a better name, began cooperating. Not willingly, but David had learned to read its physiological responses. When Rita showed it certain technical diagrams, One's biosigns indicated recognition, sometimes alarm. It's afraid of something, David observed during one session. Watch when she shows the power distribution network, its heart rate spikes. Rita adjusted her approach, showing One different configurations. Finally, she displayed a diagram of cascading power feedback through quantum nodes. One's entire body tensed. Its yellow eyes widened with what could only be described as terror. That's it, Emma breathed. That's what they fear. Their own power system turned against them. They refined the design based on One's reactions, using the alien's fear as a roadmap. The final device was crude by Dominion standards, a metal cylinder 3 feet long, packed with modified quantum processors and a power core salvaged from a crashed patrol ship. It wouldn't destroy the fleet, but it would disable every ship within the network for at least several hours. Maybe longer, long enough for humanity to strike back. While Emma and Rita built the weapon, Jack coordinated the larger operation. Survivor cells across the planet prepared for synchronized attacks. They stockpiled salvaged weapons, planned strikes on Dominion ground installations, and waited for the signal. That would start humanity's counterattack. The hardest part was getting a ship. Dominion. Transport vessels landed regularly at their mining facilities, loading refined materials for transport to orbit. These ships were lightly armed cargo haulers, not warships. A team in Nevada had been watching one particular facility for weeks, mapping patrol patterns and security protocols. We hit them at shift change, Jack explained to his strike team. 15-minute window when the old guards are leaving and new ones arriving. We take the transport, kill or capture the crew, and get off the ground before reinforcements arrive. And if reinforcements arrive anyway, someone asked, then we fight through them. There's no backup plan. We either get that ship or we die trying. They assembled a force of 30 people, everyone who could fight from 3 different survivor cells. Most had military or police backgrounds. All of them understood this was likely a one-way mission. The night before the raid, Jack found Emma alone in the workshop, making final adjustments to the device. It'll work, he said, though he wasn't sure if he was trying to convince her or himself. She didn't look up. The math works. The design works. But we've never tested it. We can't test it without alerting them. Sometimes you just have to trust the work. Emma finally turned to face him. She looked exhausted, younger than her 28 years, despite everything they'd been through. My parents were in Chicago. I don't even know if they suffered or if it was instant when the city ... disappeared. Jack had no comfort to offer. His own family had been in San Diego, gone in the first hour. We make this count, he said simply. For them. For everyone we lost. She nodded and returned to her work. The raid happened 3 days later. They approached the mining facility at dawn. Moving through the scorched landscape in vehicles they'd painstakingly repaired. The Dominion had stripped the area of vegetation, leaving only dirt and rock. Massive excavation machines tore into the earth, operated by the few human prisoners the aliens had kept alive as slave labor. Jack's team split into 3 groups. The first would create a distraction at the main gate. The second would free the human prisoners and arm them. The third, Jack's group, would take the transport ship. The distraction worked perfectly. Explosions ripped through the facility's power generators, and Dominion soldiers rushed toward the commotion. In the confusion, Jack's team reached the landing pad where a massive transport ship sat with its loading ramp down. They encountered 4 Dominion soldiers guarding the vessel. The firefight was brutal and brief. 2 humans died in the first exchange, but they'd learned to aim for the weak points in the alien armor joints, the base of the neck, the eye sockets. The guards went down hard. Move! Move! Jack shouted, and his team rushed up the ramp. The ship's interior was designed for beings much larger than humans. Everything was oversized: the corridors, the controls, even the seats in the cockpit. Emma slid into the pilot's position, her hands flying over the alien interface. Please tell me you can fly this thing, Jack said, taking position at what he hoped was a weapons console. The simulator data from one's armor better be accurate, Emma muttered. Initiating the startup sequence, the ship's engines hummed to life with a sound like reality bending. Outside, alarms blared throughout the facility. Dominion reinforcements were converging on their position. We've got company. Someone shouted from the rear of the ship. Jack switched his console to external cameras. Dozens of Dominion soldiers were rushing the landing pad. He found what looked like a weapons trigger and pressed it. Twin plasma cannons mounted on the ship's nose opened fire, carving burning paths through the enemy formation. Ramp closing, Emma announced. Everyone hold on to something. The transport lurched upward with stomach-churning acceleration. Jack was thrown against a bulkhead, his rifle clattering across the deck. Through the viewports, he watched the ground fall away at impossible speed. They punched through clouds, through atmosphere, and suddenly they were in space and surrounded by thousands of Dominion warships. Oh God, someone whispered. The fleet filled the viewport, more ships than Jack could count, arranged in perfect geometric formations around Earth. The smallest vessels were larger than aircraft carriers. The largest were the size of cities, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. And directly ahead, at the center of the formation, hung the command ship, a dark leviathan that dwarfed everything around it, its hull covered in what looked like moving shadows. That's our target, Jack said. Trying to keep his voice steady, Emma adjusted their approach vector, matching the flight pattern of other transports moving between ships. We're just another cargo hauler, one ship among thousands. As long as we follow the patterns, we should. A proximity alarm shrieked. We're being hailed, Rita said from the communication station. She'd stayed behind to monitor from the bunker, but had managed to piggyback on their connection. They're asking for your authorization codes. Emma's hands moved across the console, inputting the codes they'd extracted from one's armor. The seconds stretched into eternity. The alarm stopped. They bought it, Emma breathed. We're cleared for approach. They followed a stream of transports toward the command ship, slipping into the flow of traffic like a leaf in a river. No one spoke. Every eye was fixed on the massive vessel growing larger in the viewport. Jack armed the device, his hands steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. The cylinder hummed with barely contained energy, its modified quantum processors cycling through initialization sequences. A timer displayed on its surface, ready to activate on command. 5 minutes to docking, Emma announced, her voice tight. Once we're inside their perimeter, the shields will block any escape. We detonate, we're caught in the blast radius. Understood, Jack said. He looked at the 11 people who'd made it onto the ship with him. Young and old, men and women, all of them wearing the same expression, grim determination mixed with fear. Anyone who wants to take an escape pod, now's the time. No shame in it. No one moved. David checked his medical kit one last time, though they all knew it wouldn't matter if things went wrong. My daughter was 7 when they came. She loved butterflies. I'd like them to know that. The Dominion. I'd like them to know we fought for the ones who couldn't. They'll know, Jack promised. The command ship loomed before them now, blotting out the stars. Its docking bays were like massive caves carved into the hull, each one large enough to swallow a skyscraper. Dozens of transports moved in and out in a carefully choreographed dance. Emma guided their ship toward an assigned bay, matching velocity with the larger vessel. They passed through an energy barrier that shimmered like oil on water. And suddenly they were inside, enclosed in a space so vast it had its own artificial gravity and atmosphere. Setting down on pad 47, Emma said. Rita, you getting this? Copy that, Rita's voice crackled through the cone. Pad 47 is 3 corridors from their primary power distribution node. If the device works, the cascade should spread through the entire network within seconds. Jack grabbed the device and a pack of explosives. Emma, you stay with the ship. Keep the engines hot. Everyone else, you're with me. Like hell I'm staying, Emma shot back, already moving toward the ramp. You need me to interface the device with their systems. Jack wanted to argue, but she was right. He nodded curtly. David, you hold the ship. If we're not back in 20 minutes... I know, David said. Take care of them, Jack. The ramp lowered with a hiss of hydraulics. Beyond lay a massive hangar filled with Dominion personnel, soldiers, technicians, drone operators. The sheer scale was overwhelming. Hundreds of beings moving with purpose, loading and unloading cargo, performing maintenance. Completely unaware that 3 humans were about to walk among them. The armor data from one indicated most of them can't actually see very well in our visual spectrum. Rita's voice reminded them. Their helmets compensate, but without direct attention, you might pass for laborers. Keep your heads down and move with purpose. They descended the ramp, Jack cradling the device like it was just another piece of equipment. His team spread out slightly, trying to look like they belonged. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide. But he forced himself to walk steadily toward the corridor Rita had identified. A Dominion soldier passed within feet of them, its armor gleaming under the harsh lights. Jack felt sweat trickle down his spine, but the alien barely glanced their way before continuing on its patrol. Corridor entrance, 50 meters ahead, Rita guided them. Take the left branch, then follow it for 200 meters. You'll reach a security checkpoint. They reached the corridor without incident. The architecture was brutally utilitarian bare metal walls, harsh lighting, everything oversized for the 8-foot-tall Dominion soldiers. The ceiling was 30 feet high, making Jack feel like an insect crawling through a giant's house. The security checkpoint appeared ahead, 2 guards flanking a sealed door, weapons held ready. There was no way past them without being noticed. Ideas? Emma whispered. Jack set the device down carefully and unslung his rifle. The others did the same, taking cover behind support columns. 10 humans with salvaged weapons against 2 Dominion soldiers in full armor, plus whoever was on the other side of that door. "We fight," Jack said simply. He stepped out from cover and opened fire. The first burst caught the left guard in the neck joint, one of the weak points they'd identified. The alien stumbled, its armor sparking. The second guard spun toward them, its weapon charging. Jack's team unleashed everything they had. Plasma bolts, ballistic rounds, even a homemade grenade that Emma had engineered from salvaged parts. The corridor became a hell of light and sound. The second guard went down, but alarms were already blaring. The sealed door burst open, and 4 more soldiers emerged, these ones wearing heavier armor. "Go!" Jack shouted. "I'll hold them. We're not leaving you." Emma screamed back. "You're not. I'm coming right behind you. Just get the device to the node." 2 of his team members grabbed the device and ran deeper into the corridor. Emma hesitated for a heartbeat, then followed. Jack and the remaining fighters laid down covering fire, pouring rounds into the advancing soldiers. One of the Dominion warriors raised a weapon that looked like a cannon. Jack dove aside as a blast of energy vaporized the support column where he'd been standing. The heat washed over him, singeing his hair. He came up firing, emptying his magazine into the soldier's faceplate. It cracked, then shattered. The alien screech was almost human as it fell. "Jack, move!" Someone shouted. He ran, his lungs burning, his legs pumping. Behind him, weapons fire lit up the corridor. He heard a screen one of his people going down, but he couldn't stop. The mission was everything now. He caught up with Emma and the others at what looked like a massive server room. Thousands of crystalline structures pulsed with inner light, connected by streams of energy that flowed like liquid. The quantum network node, the heart of the ship's systems. "Rita, we're here," Emma panted into her com. Activating the device now. She and Jack set it down in the center of the room. Emma's fingers flew over the interface, connecting the device to the alien systems through salvaged cables. The cylinder began to pulse faster, brighter. 60 seconds to detonation, Emma said. "We need to go now." Explosions echoed from the corridor behind them. The Dominion had brought heavy weapons. Jack's remaining fighters were being systematically eliminated. "Run," he ordered. Back to the ship, they sprinted through corridors that had erupted into chaos. Alarms wailed. Dominion soldiers rushed past them, heading toward the disturbance. In the confusion, the humans were just more bodies in motion. Asterisk?